Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In a previous video, we looked at the salutation, which was the first part of our letter. It was the first component of a typical letter or email in CELPIP. Today, we're going to focus on the second component, which is the opening paragraph. So we're going to look at how you can write an effective opening paragraph. Now, the opening paragraph is a very short paragraph. It's often one line long, and it's supposed to briefly introduce the reason for writing the letter. So it kind of serves like a subject line. We very briefly want to tell our reader what this letter is about and what is the purpose of the email. Now, what's the easiest way and what's the best way to start this opening paragraph? Well, there is a formula, and you can always follow this formula. The formula looks something like this. I'm writing to plus verb phrase plus noun phrase plus post modifier. And I'm going to explain what each of these various sections refer to. I'm going to use a color coding scheme again. So I'm writing to, that's pretty simple. And then verb phrase, noun phrase, and then finally we have a post modifier. Let's see what all of this is about. I'll show you with some nice examples. So for example, you could say something like, I'm writing to request an extension for the oral presentation assignment. Check it out. Now, this is a typical opening paragraph, and we're going to break this down into its components. So I'm writing to is the first part, right? So I'm writing to, that's pretty much repeated all the time. Then we have a verb. In this case, the verb is request. So the verb can either be a single verb or it could be a bunch of words which together form a verb phrase. After that, we have a noun phrase. In this case, an extension. That's the noun. So I want to request an extension, but then I also need to give more information. And the way I do this is through the post modifier. Extension for what? For the oral presentation assignment. So as you can see, we have all of the components that I pointed out in the previous part. Let's take a look at another example. This time, the sentence is, I'm writing to request some information regarding the festival, which is going to be held in Springfield next month. Let's break this down. So I'm writing to, that's the first part, right? Always repeat it. Then we have, again, the verb phrase request, a single word. And then some information would be the noun phrase, and we need some details regarding the festival, which is going to be held in Springfield next month. That's going to be the post modifier. So as you can see, this formula, if you keep practicing it, can be a very efficient and effective way of writing the opening paragraph in your response. Informal letters. If you're writing a letter to a friend of yours, someone you know very well, you don't want to jump into the main function. You don't want to say, I'm writing to let you know about a party that will be held at my house on Wednesday. That would be too abrupt. So for informal letters, what you need to do is begin with a goodwill statement or just a way of, showing your friendly attitude. Some expressions that you could use for this are, hope this message finds you well. Another expression that you could use is, hope all is well. You could also ask a question like, how have you been? Or you could say something like, it's been a while since we last got in touch. You can also write something that's related to the situation. So if, for example, the recipient has completed high school, you could say something like, congratulations on completing high school. Or if they've recently lost someone, you could say, I'm sorry to hear about your loss. So as you can see, the question itself can give us a fairly good idea about what to say in the opening paragraph. Now, there are two tips that I'd like to remind you of. Tip number one is don't cram too many details into the opening. Don't mention everything in the opening because you're gonna have to say a lot of it later and then it would become very redundant. So if you say something like, I'm writing to inform you about a barbecue which will be held at Daisy Park on September 10th at 5 p.m., well, you just gave everything away. On the other hand, the opening should not be too short and vague. So if you say something like, I'm writing to inform you about a barbecue, that's also equally problematic because it's very vague. So the trick here is to strike a balance and understand how much information you should include in the opening paragraph. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Go ahead and write your own salutation and opening and include it in the comments section below. I will review your responses and I'll try to give you feedback on them. In the next video, we're going to learn how to write the background paragraph. So I hope you can join me in the next one. Thanks again for watching. See you all back here soon.